The shadow over Wakanda. The golden sun dipped low over Wakanda, painting the capital in warm light that gleamed off vibranium spires. From the royal palace balcony, King T'Challa surveyed his homeland. It had been months since the last global crisis, and though the world still tugged at him, Wakanda was entering a season of peace. Children played in the markets, the air was filled with song, and the nation pulsed with its usual quiet strength. But peace, T'Challa knew, was always fragile. "Your mind is restless," said Shuri, stepping beside her brother. She wore her white lab coat over ceremonial attire, her hands smeared with grease from whatever invention she had been working on. T'Challa smiled faintly. "A king's mind is never still. One eye must always remain on the horizon." The horizon answered him. At first, it was subtle, a shimmer, like heat waves rippling across the clear sky. Then the shimmer darkened. A black fracture tore across the heavens, bleeding light as though the very fabric of the atmosphere was wounded. The hum was low, thunderous, vibrating through vibranium towers and into the bones of everyone who stood beneath. Alarms wailed across the capital. Wakandan sky shields flickered to life, golden hexagonal patterns weaving across the dome that protected the city. Shuri's eyes widened. "That is no storm. Brother, something is coming." Something was already here. From the fracture descended ships unlike any Earth had known, obsidian vessels shaped like jagged spears, glowing with violet energy. They cut through the sky like falling blades, blotting out the sun. The Dora Milaje rushed to the palace courtyard, spears humming with vibranium power. General Okoye stood at their head, her gaze unwavering as the ships formed a blockade above the capital. "Shields are at full strength," she said calmly, though her grip on her spear tightened. "But they are testing them." The sky crackled. Violet bolts of energy slammed into the golden barrier, rattling the ground like an earthquake. Each strike grew heavier, pressing the shield inward. Then came the voice. A voice that was not sound but gravity itself, a deep vibration that pressed into the skulls of all who heard it. "Children of Earth, you stand upon stolen treasure. I am Zithron of the Void-born Dominion. By decree of the stars, Wakanda's or belongs to me. Your resistance is irrelevant. Kneel or be crushed." Silence gripped the city for a heartbeat, broken only by the steady hum of the shields. T'Challa's expression hardened. "Wakanda kneels to no one." The first ship pierced the shield. It fell like a meteor, smashing through the golden hexagons and plowing into the outskirts of the city. From its shattered hull crawled alien soldiers, their bodies sheathed in black carapace armor that shimmered with the same violet glow as their warlord's voice. They moved in jerks and lunges, as though pulled by invisible strings, their weapons emitting arcs of gravity that bent metal, shattered stone, and pulled warriors off their feet. Okoye led the charge. Dora Milaje. Spears clashed with alien weapons in a storm of sparks. The streets of Wakanda became a battlefield as civilians fled to shelters. Shuri shouted commands into her wristband, activating vibranium drones that streaked through the sky, unleashing beams of blue light against the invaders. Yet for every alien that fell, 2 more descended from the hovering ships. Wakanda was holding, but barely. T'Challa leapt into the fray, his vibranium suit absorbing the alien blasts as he struck with precision, claws tearing through armor. He was a blur of motion, moving from one soldier to the next, refusing to let his people falter. But even as he fought, his gaze tracked upward. The largest ship had not moved. It hung above the city like a predator waiting for its prey to tire. And then he saw him. Zithron. He emerged on a platform of gravity itself, descending slowly until his armored form touched the battlefield. He was massive, his silhouette jagged like his ship's, with dark armor that seemed grown rather than forged. Violet orbs glowed where eyes should be, and each step he took bent the ground, stones lifting weightless before crashing back under his control. Hulk would have seemed human beside him. Zithron raised a hand. The battlefield froze. Dora Milaje, alien soldiers, even Chala himself felt the pull as their feet wrenched against the earth. Weapons bent, stones cracked, and screams echoed as bodies were dragged toward him. "I require your ore," Zithron intoned, his voice deeper than thunder. "Your lives are meaningless. But surrender the Vibranium, and I will leave this world intact." Chala forced himself upright against the crushing pull, his armor whirring as it redistributed the force. "You will not take 1 grain of Vibranium from Wakanda. Nor from Earth." Zithron tilted his head. "Then Earth falls." He clenched his fist. A gravity wave erupted, flinging warriors through the air, shattering walls, and tearing craters into Wakanda's streets. The golden shield flickered again, weaker now, each crack a death knell. Shuri cried out into her wristband, broadcasting a desperate signal beyond Earth's atmosphere. Her voice shook, but her words were clear. "This is Wakanda. To anyone in the stars who can hear, Earth is under siege." The signal tore through space, a fragile cry against the void. And somewhere among the stars, aboard a ship filled with mismatched heroes, a radio sparked to life. A smirk tugged at Star-Lord's lips as the voice played through the comms. Rocket's ears perked. Gamora narrowed her eyes. "Guess Earth just got interesting again," Quill muttered, flipping a switch. Back on the battlefield, Chala and his people braced themselves as Zithron's army pressed forward. The king's claws gleamed, his stance unyielding despite the towering force before him. Wakanda would not bow. The war for Earth had begun. Unlikely allies. The skies above Wakanda burned violet. Alien ships rained energy fire down upon the Golden Dome, and each impact shook the capital to its core. Wakanda's shield still held, though cracks splintered through it like a spider's web. King Chala stood amidst the chaos, his vibranium suit glowing as it absorbed blast after blast. Around him, the Dora Milaje fought with precision, spears crackling as they clashed against the invading soldiers. Okoye barked orders with the force of a general and the sharpness of a blade. Still, for every alien that fell, 2 more took its place. Above, the largest ship loomed, silent and patient, like a predator circling its prey. And on the battlefield itself, Zithron had descended, his gravitational aura distorting the ground, bending stone and metal as though the city itself bowed to him. But Wakanda was not fighting alone anymore. The air split with a roar of engines, followed by a spectacular crash. A streak of silver and blue slammed into the open plains just beyond the capital, tearing up soil and grass until the craft skidded to a halt. Sparks showered, metal groaned, and smoke billowed as the ship's hatch hissed open. From the wreckage stumbled Star-Lord, brushing dust off his jacket. "Okay, note to self, never trust Rocket with the landing gear." "I heard that," a voice shouted from inside. Moments later, Rocket Raccoon emerged, lugging a massive cannon nearly twice his size. "If you'd quit distracting me with your singing, we wouldn't have crash-landed." "I do not sing," Star-Lord protested. "I am Groot," said Groot, stepping calmly through the smoke. His wooden body glowed faintly, already sprouting battle-ready branches tipped like spears. Gamora followed, blades already drawn, her eyes scanning the chaos with the calm of a seasoned warrior. "Focus! This planet is under siege." Wakandan soldiers froze in momentary confusion at the strange arrivals. The Dora Milaje tightened their formation, wary of these outsiders. Chala strode forward, his mask retracting to reveal his face. "Who are you?" Star-Lord grinned, spreading his arms dramatically. "We're the Guardians of the Galaxy. You're welcome." Before anyone could answer, a tremor ripped through the battlefield. Zithron raised his hand, gravity crushing down on the newcomers. Star-Lord dropped to one knee, struggling to breathe. Groot's branches splintered under the invisible weight. Rocket cursed. "Oh, great. Another big ugly with a superiority complex." Then, from behind the palace, the earth itself trembled. A roar, primal and furious, split the sky. Out of the smoke surged a hulking green figure, smashing through alien soldiers like they were toys. Hulk had arrived. He tore into the battlefield with savage fury, fists like meteors, every strike sending shockwaves through the ranks of the invaders. An alien aimed a gravity weapon at him. Hulk roared and hurled a broken ship hull that flattened a dozen soldiers in one thunderous crash. "Now that," Star-Lord gasped under Zithron's crushing aura, "is a proper entrance." The tide of battle shifted. With Hulk rampaging through the enemy and Wakanda's warriors pressing forward, the Guardians rallied. Rocket fired his cannon, vaporizing a cluster of aliens with a smug grin. Gamora spun and slashed, cutting down elite soldiers who moved with frightening speed. Groot extended massive roots, wrapping around alien tanks and crushing them with ease. For the first time since Zithron's arrival, Wakanda pushed back. But their victory was far from certain. Zithron's violet eyes flared. With a sweep of his hand, he hurled Hulk across the battlefield, smashing him into the palace wall. Hulk roared, staggered to his feet, and charged again, only to be slammed into the ground by a gravitational wave so powerful the earth cracked beneath him. The Dora Milaje faltered as soldiers surged forward. T'Challa fought at Okoye's side, his claws slicing through armor, but even he felt the weight of despair creeping in. "We cannot hold them forever," Okoye growled, parrying an alien spear. "We will not need to," T'Challa replied, his eyes fixed on the alien Warlord above. As if on cue, Star-Lord slid into view beside him, ducking under a beam of violet energy. "Okay, Your Highness, I've got a terrible idea." T'Challa raised an eyebrow. "I am listening." Star-Lord pointed upward. "See that big scary ship hanging over us like a storm cloud? That's the source of his power. He's got a gravity core up there, feeding him juice. Take it out, and we take him down." Shuri's voice crackled through T'Challa's earpiece. "He may be right. My scans show an anomalous energy source at the heart of the flagship. If it collapses, Zithron's power may destabilize." T'Challa considered quickly. "Then that is our target." Rocket scampered up Groot's shoulder, cannon resting on his furry arm. "Great, so what's the plan? Fly into an alien battleship armed to the teeth and blow it sky high?" Star-Lord smirked. "Exactly." "Finally," Gamora said, eyes narrowing. "Something worth my time." Hulk staggered back into the fray, wiping blood from his lip, eyes blazing with fury. "Hulk smash big ship." The Guardians exchanged glances. Rocket shrugged. "Not the worst plan we've ever had." Amid the chaos, an unlikely alliance was born. T'Challa lifted his mask back into place, his voice resolute. "Then we fight together. For Wakanda. For Earth." The battlefield roared as Wakanda's warriors, the Guardians, and Hulk charged forward in unison. Alien fire rained down, but the heroes pressed on, carving a path toward the looming flagship. Above them, Zithron extended his arms. The air bent, the ground quaked, and his voice echoed across the land. "You believe unity will save you? You are mistaken. Gravity consumes all." But this time, Wakanda was not alone. And as Star-Lord pulled out his blasters, Rocket's cannon hummed, Groot's branches stretched skyward, Gamora's blades gleamed, Hulk thundered forward, and Black Panther led the charge, a single truth rang clear. This would not be the fall of Wakanda. This would be the beginning of Zithron's downfall. The Fall of Xytheron. The night sky over Wakanda blazed with fire. Alien warships circled like carrion birds, raining violet energy upon the Golden City. Vibranium towers stood defiant, their surfaces cracked but unbroken, glowing against the endless assault. At the heart of it all, the colossal flagship loomed, an obsidian monolith bristling with weapons, pulsing with violet light from its core. It was not just a ship. It was Zithron's throne, the heart of his power. On the battlefield below, Hulk, Black Panther, and the Guardians of the Galaxy carved a bloody path through alien ranks, each strike driving them closer to the ship. "Ship's bellies wide open," Rocket shouted over the chaos, blasting apart a cluster of soldiers. "Now we just gotta get up there without dying." "Easier said than done," Gamora muttered, parrying a vicious blow from one of Zithron's elite. Hulk smashed through a group of enemies, roaring, "Hulk go up! Hulk break ship!" Chala landed beside him, claws gleaming, mask reflecting violet fire. "We will go together. His power cannot stand against all of us." A wave of crushing force slammed into them before they could move. The battlefield buckled, stone splitting into deep ravines. Soldiers and Wakandan warriors alike stumbled as Zithron descended from the flagship on a platform of warped gravity. His towering frame pulsed with power, his violet eyes burning with contempt. "You scurry like insects," he thundered, his voice shaking the air. "You think alliance makes you strong. Gravity makes all equal, broken and bent beneath its weight." With a gesture, he hurled Hulk into the palace wall again, pinning him under invisible force. Groot's branches snapped under the same crushing grip. Even Chala staggered as the weight pressed down, his armor groaning. But Star-Lord, defiant even under pressure, wheezed, "Yeah, well, you've never met the stubbornness of Earth." He fired both blasters at once. The shots barely scratched Zithron's armor, but they drew his attention long enough for Gamora to spring forward, blades flashing. She struck at the glowing lines across his chest plate, sparks flying. Zithron roared, backhanding her with force enough to hurl her across the battlefield. For a moment, it seemed hopeless. Wakanda's warriors struggled to hold the line, the Guardians were scattered, Hulk was trapped, and Zithron stood unchallenged. Then, Shuri's voice crackled in Chala's ear. "Brother, his power is anchored to the flagship's gravity core. If you destabilize it, his hold will weaken. You must destroy it." Chala's eyes narrowed. He looked up at the ship, its core pulsing like a heartbeat. "Guardians!" he shouted, his voice cutting through the chaos. "The flagship is the key. We strike now." Rocket grinned wickedly. "Music to my ears." The Guardians regrouped, Star-Lord firing a volley to cover Gamora as she rose, battered but unbroken. Groot stretched his limbs skyward, forming a massive wooden sling. Rocket clambered onto Groot's shoulder, cannon glowing hot. Hulk, straining against Zithron's crushing grip, roared with rage. His muscles bulged, his skin glowed faintly under the violet strain, and with one final surge, he broke free, shattering the invisible chains. Hulk smash! He leapt, grabbing hold of Groot's sling. With a mighty heave, Groot launched Hulk like a missile straight toward the flagship. Hulk slammed into its hull with a bone-rattling crash, tearing through metal, roaring as he smashed his way toward the core. "Guess we're doing this the loud way," Star-Lord muttered, blasting off with his jet boots to follow. Gamora leapt after him, Groot forming bridges of wood to carry her. Rocket strapped himself to Groot's shoulder, cannon firing non-stop as they carved a path through the skies. Below, Chala faced Zithron directly. The alien warlord raised his hands, bending the very battlefield around him. Stone floated like islands, weapons shattered in mid-air. "You will kneel before inevitability." Chala sprinted forward, his claws igniting with blue energy. "Wakanda kneels to no one." They clashed in a storm of power. Every strike of Chala's claws met the crushing pull of Zithron's gravity. The king's agility allowed him to slip past waves of distortion, slashing at seams in the alien armor. Sparks flew. Stone cracked beneath their feet. High above, Hulk tore into the flagship's core chamber. A massive sphere of violet energy pulsed at the center, chained by alien machinery. Hulk slammed his fists into it, the room shuddering as cracks spread across the core's surface. Alarms blared. The entire ship trembled. "Big guy," Rocket yelled over the comms. Try not to blow us all to kingdom come." "Too late," Hulk growled, striking again. The core fractured, energy bleeding out in violent waves. On the battlefield, Zithron faltered. His aura flickered, his control weakening. Chala saw his chance. He surged forward, claws glowing brighter, and struck deep into the Warlord's chestplate. Zithron roared in fury, but before he could retaliate, a thunderous crash split the sky. Hulk leapt from the flagship, carrying the shattered remains of the core in his fists. He landed with the force of a meteor, driving the broken core into the ground at Zithron's feet. The gravity wave backfired. Energy erupted outward in a cataclysmic explosion, imploding rather than expanding. Zithron screamed as his own power turned against him. His massive frame distorted, pulled inward, crushed by the very force he had wielded. With a final roar, he was dragged into the imploding core, vanishing into nothingness. Silence fell. The alien army, leaderless, faltered. Their weapons dimmed, their formation broke, and Wakanda's warriors surged forward, driving them into retreat. The flagship split apart in the skies, chunks of burning wreckage raining harmlessly onto the plains. Breathing hard, Chala stood among his people, mask retracting. The Dora Milaje raised their spears in victory. Nearby, the Guardians regrouped. Star-Lord dusted himself off. "Well, I'd say that's a win." Rocket grinned, patting his cannon. "And no one even died this time. Progress." "I am Groot," Groot said solemnly, branches curling skyward. Gamora sheathed her blades, her eyes meeting Chala's. "Your people fought with honor. You have more strength than most worlds combined." Chala nodded. "Wakanda protects not just itself, but Earth. Today, you were part of that." Hulk stomped over, still smoldering from the battle. "Hulk hungry." Star-Lord chuckled. "I know a place in nowhere that makes a mean intergalactic shawarma." Despite the exhaustion, a ripple of laughter spread among the heroes. For one night, Earth had stood united against the stars and prevailed. As dawn rose over Wakanda, the fires of battle faded. The sky was clear again, save for streaks of alien wreckage burning in the upper atmosphere. Chala stood tall, gazing at the horizon. Earth had been tested by a power from beyond the stars, and it had not broken. The Guardians prepared their ship for departure, but before leaving, Star-Lord turned back with a grin. "Not bad, Earth. Not bad at all." And with that, the strange alliance parted ways, but not before planting the seed of something greater. A promise that if the stars ever threatened Earth again, they would not face it alone. For now, though, Wakanda stood victorious. The shadow of Zithron was gone. But the universe was watching.